shoot?
We are the Thunderbolts!
Can't call ourselves that.
It's a cool name. It's getting so tense in here.
Who are you?
I'm Bob.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. They dropped a brand new Thunderbolts trailer, so we'll break it all down. I know there's a lot of questions about what's going on with Sentry, like their future in the MCU. Are they just turning into the Dark Avengers or like the New Avengers? What's going to happen with Sam Wilson's New Avengers that he's trying to put together too? They're actually supposed to start filming Avengers 5 in the next couple months, like real soon, meaning that we'll probably get the Avengers 5 trailer at the end of the year, which is like the normal schedule for Marvel when they release big Avengers movies in the spring of following years. It is crazy to think that we're this close to like the next real big Avengers movie and we still haven't seen a lot of the Sentry character and we don't really know what's going on with the new MCU versions, like multiple versions of the Avengers teams. Because it does seem like there's going to be a new Avengers team that Val puts together with the Thunderbolts that becomes the Dark Avengers, but they just call themselves the New Avengers. And it seems like on the other side of things, Sam Wilson's Captain America is also going to start putting together another legit new Avengers team like you would expect the new Avengers to come together after Endgame. So heading into Avengers 5, it seems like there's actually 3 competing Avengers teams, like an evil Avengers team that Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom brings to the MCU to just like wipe the floor with all the regular heroes from the MCU, and those 2 new Avengers teams coming from the MCU itself. So we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. It is only going to get crazier between now, the end of this year when we get that first Avengers trailer, next year when we actually see the movie, in the following year when we see Avengers 6 Secret Wars. Remember, back-to-back Avengers movies in years just like Infinity War and Endgame. Doesn't it still feel like Avengers Endgame just happened a little while ago? Like, didn't we just have Endgame? What's going on here? Everybody wiping all those pandemic years from your mind, like we went straight from 2020 all the way to 2025. Not a whole lot happened in between that period. We'll have to call Marvel Phase 4 and Marvel Phase 5 like the lost phase of Marvel, like the lost era of Marvel, where people just kind of blanked out and forgot what happened during those years. All I remember is Avengers Endgame and then a whole bunch of X-Men showing up in the MCU. But the new footage heavily focuses on that "be careful who you assemble" mantra, which is basically a play on the original Avengers. We've been talking about the different footage here. I'll go through shot by shot, but in the footage you can see they all show up in the new Avengers tower at the top floor, which is meant to be a reverse of the Avengers going down in the elevator, and a play on that scene from the original Avengers movie where Tony Stark confronts Loki at the bar here, but with Val and the Thunderbolts. There's even some new footage here of the Sentry with the Thunderbolts. Notice that he's wearing street clothes now, like this is later after they rescue him from that base that Val winds up blowing up. Technically, it's not them saving him, it's really them saving themselves, and him also just being so OP that he saves himself too. Then they all slowly come together as an actual group with the help of Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier, if it wasn't clear, is the person that sort of brings them all together and helps them rally against Val. They don't actually start the movie being on a team together. But it seems like enough time has gone by in the movie that he's gotten full street clothes, and notice the colors are meant to be a reference to the colors of his comic book suit. I think the idea is that his full Sentry suit won't be like bright yellow colors, they'll be like darker yellow colors and darker blues. We actually got a brief teaser of it already. You can actually see him walking down the steps in his boots. These are his blue boots, and this seems like it's the symbol that either goes around his chest or on his waist, and the suit just comes out of that. It might just be nanotechnology. But it seems like when they all confront Val here, like they get off the elevator, then they see her at the bar, and it's meant to be the exact same bar that Tony Stark had in the Avengers Tower. That's part of the joke here. Like she's redesigned the top floor here, so like the whole floor looks different, but she kept the bar the exact same. She's making the drink just like Tony Stark was, and it seems like she's trying to talk her way out of them killing her. Like, oh, surprise, you passed my test. I totally meant for you to survive this. But I think the reason why you don't see the Sentry standing with them here is because what Marvel probably took them out of the trailer. Like Marvel removes stuff from trailers all the time to hide spoilers. But I also think that the Sentry arriving in this scene is meant to be a comp to Iron Man when he arrived to face Loki in the original Avengers movie. So if you remember, he actually came from the outside, like he flew in and then walked in around the ledge and in to face him at the bar. So it seems like what's going on in this scene is that Sentry doesn't ride up in the elevator with them. He's actually flying around outside. He's probably the reason why they're staring up in the sky on the ground too. Like they're watching the helicopter explode and they're all kind of freaking out a little like, what's going on up in the sky? That's probably Sentry flying around just destroying Val's stuff. They seem like they fight their way through the lobby, then up through the elevator facer. Sentry probably comes in from the sky separately to join them. So them all facing Val is a true comp to this Iron Man versus Loki scene where they're like all standing around the bar. One of the other real big questions with Sentry's character is what they're going to do with him when it comes to Avengers 5. Like, how do they end the movie with the Sentry character? Robert Reynolds, is he still going to have his alternate persona? Like, how are they going to deal with the whole void of it all? If you're not a big Marvel comic book reader, the void that we're talking about isn't meant to be the void from Loki. That's like a specific place in time and space. When you talk about the Sentry character, the Void is the alternate persona that was created when he became the Sentry and got the Golden Sentry serum. He was already meant to be schizophrenic when he got the serum, and the serum just caused this transformation, which basically created this alternate persona of the Void that has all the same power levels, different powers, but same power levels as the Sentry himself has. So going forward, the Sentry was meant to be like his good persona that wants to be a superhero, and the Void was meant to be a completely separate evil persona that just wanted to destroy everything. Interesting connection with Null, God of Symbiotes, and everything we just saw in the Sony Marvel Universe. Even though Venom: The Last Dance seems like it's going to be this soft reboot point for Sony, and they're having all kinds of problems, like basically the destruction of the Sony Marvel Universe. They're going to have to redo things in a couple years. They're never going to stop trying to make those Spider-Man spin-off movies. They're just going to probably take a couple years and then come back and reboot everything. But because there is an actual live-action version of Null, God of Symbiotes, it seemed like for a while Sony was trying to build up to a King in Black style movie with Spider-Man, Venom, and the other Sony Marvel characters. In Marvel Comics, that was actually a line-wide crossover with like the Avengers and all the regular Marvel heroes too, not just Spider-Man characters. During that, Sentry tried to fight Null with his god-tier powers, but because Null is meant to be way more powerful than Sentry, basically ripped him apart and then absorbed the Void into himself, so now Null, God of Symbiotes, also has all the powers of the Void too. Just because of all the chaos that's happening at Sony right now, I'm not expecting any of that Null, Venom, God of Symbiotes stuff that was going on in those movies to have anything to do with what's happening in Avengers 5, like Kevin Feige isn't going to worry about any of the Sony stuff. Maybe we get a cameo from Venom during Secret Wars or something like that, but like that's probably the extent of it. But I think something is going to happen to Sentry by the end of this movie that will basically take him off the board by the time we get to Avengers 5 Doomsday so that he won't be a threat to Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom character or his evil Avengers. Just because if you think about it, Sentry is so OP, he would wipe the floor with pretty much anything that came to the MCU on that level. And it's not like Null is going to be on that evil Avengers team that Doctor Doom is putting together. So honestly, I'm not expecting to see a powered version of Sentry to show up in Avengers 5. But I don't think they're killing him off at the end of Thunderbolt, so I think something happens to basically nullify his powers. In the comics, there's the whole twist where Sentry basically causes the entire world to forget about him. They might use a twist on that idea to basically remove the Sentry's powers, so that he's still around as a character, and like technically he still has the powers, but he doesn't have them when Avengers 5 picks up. Maybe it winds up being similar to Thor's journey in the MCU, like the unworthy version of Thor, where like he doesn't think that he can actually lift his hammer, he doesn't think that he's worthy to be a superhero, but then eventually rallies and comes back in a real big way. So even if they do find a way to backburner the Sentry character at the end of this movie, just like put him on a shelf and then wait a couple years in some other future movie to bring him back, I think he will come back ultimately. Just because it does seem like they're using Captain America 4 Brave New World to build up to World War Hulk storyline, which Sentry would actually be great during, just because he fought Hulk during the original World War Hulk. That would actually be a really interesting matchup. But I think all the World War Hulk stuff that they're slowly setting up in the background isn't supposed to happen till after Secret Wars, like it's not meant to be a multiverse kind of thing. There's actually a lot of plot points I think that Marvel is setting up that they won't pay off till after Secret Wars right now. Like, not everything is building towards Avengers 5, and they're just using Avengers 5 and Avengers 6 to sort of wrap up all the crazy multiverse stuff that they have going on in the background that they haven't already resolved. There are a couple other new shots that they've actually released too. This is actually Val with her OXE group from the comics and one of her henchmen who you probably recognize from True Blood, probably a couple other things too. OXE in the comics is an evil organization, but they have a much more cosmic bent. I think in the MCU, they're basically just saying that they're like Val's version of, say, like a more evil version of BlackRock. Basically like a private contractor group that she uses for a lot of black box stuff and where all of her money comes from, like how she got the money to actually buy the Avengers Tower from Tony Stark, because it would be crazy expensive. Maybe like a slightly more evil version of S.H.I.E.L.D., but like not quite as big as S.H.I.E.L.D., because S.H.I.E.L.D. was actually funded by the government, and it seems like Val, as director of the CIA, probably uses government money for a lot of her shady stuff, but not quite in the same way that S.H.I.E.L.D. was directly tied to the US government. But I think the whole idea with Sentry, though, is that she uses her OXE group to create the Sentry as sort of like this ultimate weapon. That is why when they have all these scenes inside Sentry's lab facility where she's creating him, you see the boxes that say OXE on them, and a lot of the charts and figures that show different versions of Sentry on it, like different brain scans, different versions of his costume. And one of the other new characters that we do get a little bit of footage of here is actually this person in the background who's supposed to be her assistant during the events of the movie, and I think she's meant to be a version of Songbird from the comics, who was on the original Thunderbolts team with Baron Zemo. He modified her vocal cords to give her all her traditional Songbird abilities. Then the Power Broker in the comics, Sharon Carter in the MCU, we just saw her come back during the What If series. She gave Songbird low-level super soldier abilities, but not on par with people who got the super soldier serum like Captain America, Bucky, Red Guardian, US Agent. By the time they got to the Dark Reign era of comics, where Norman Osborn took the Thunderbolts and turned them into his personal goon squad, then created the Dark Avengers, she had become good, and he basically sent them after her to kill her, which she survived. My assumption right now is that she's sort of like a version of Darcy that just happens to be working for Val. And I'm not expecting her to have all of her comic book abilities. In the comics, they actually get pretty wild. But I know there's still 1,000 questions about what's happening in this movie. It's coming out real soon, so we will start getting more trailers pretty soon, especially when Captain America 4 comes out in theaters. We're also supposed to get a brand new trailer for Daredevil Born Again in the next week or two. Whenever they wind up releasing that, of course I will do all the videos. Probably one of the most hyped things that's coming this year, and we'll start to get episodes for that in March. Over in the DC universe, James Gunn just revealed his brand new Batman that's going to show up during Batman Brave and the Bold and cross over with the Justice League and everyone. Click here for that, and click here to learn what's going on in Black Panther 3. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.